So let's talk sound. I think audio is one of the main contributing factors when it comes to filming video content that you want to make sure that you capture good, crisp audio. So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you all a few different devices, tools, and techniques that I personally like to use. And I think that this might be helpful whether you are filming videos for clients, content creation, or if you simply just want to just capture some footage for any of your craft projects that you want to share here online. I think that a few of the things I'm going to share with you all, it might be helpful for you to use as you go on your journey to start capturing any type of video content. So let's get into the very first thing that I like to use. One of the main things that I like to use is I like to use this Rode Wireless Go II microphone. I have used this on various occasions, and the main thing that I have used this microphone for is I like to use this microphone when I'm out in the field, specifically when I'm working with clients and I'm conducting interviews or anything where it requires me to capture some type of sound bites from an individual that might be speaking for a very long time, or occasionally I might use this particular microphone for some of my personal content creation videos where I'm just simply sitting down like today, talking directly to the camera. This is a great microphone to directly capture your audio. One of the cool things and a pro about this microphone is I like the feature where you can record directly into the microphone instead of directly into the camera. It's a setting that you have to personally go in and turn on. There are other tutorials and videos up on YouTube that will walk you through how to do that. And in a previous video, I've also shared that I have multiple Rode microphones. And so what I personally like to do is I label these microphones so that way I don't get the transmitters mixed up with the different microphones that I use and the different devices that I have within my kit. So this is an example of one of the microphones that go with this particular transmitter. The only con that I have with using this Wireless Go mic is because it works off of wireless technology, primarily Bluetooth technology. One thing that I have ran into when I was capturing audio within the field is I was interviewing 3 different people, and these were hour-long interviews. And what's cool about this, I forgot to mention this, was this microphone captures up to 7 hours of audio. So I can use one microphone and capture multiple interviews and get it all on one device without having to bring out a bunch of different tools and things. But the only hiccup with this particular microphone is when it came to my third interviewee, for some reason, I was getting a little bit of reverb and I was hearing a little bit of a hum when it came to capturing one of the interviews, and I could not figure out what it was. But then when I got ready to sit down and edit some of the footage, I realized that the last person that I had interviewed, he actually had his cell phone in his jacket pocket. And I believe what happened was there might have been a little bit of interference between that cell phone interacting with the transmitter and the microphone. I think somehow maybe the wires or the connections kind of crossed paths because his cell phone was so close to where the microphone was clipped onto him. And so that was the only hiccup. Other than that, I have used these microphones on many different occasions. Like I said, I've used it for clients and I have used it to capture some of my personal video content that I share here online. The only hiccup is when I had that one interviewee and he had his cell phone on the inside of his jacket pocket, and I think it was just too close to the microphone. Now, something else that I want to mention about this Wireless Go II microphone, since I have purchased this, they have came out with new reiterations of these microphones, and I was actually out in the field and I noticed that one of the things that they updated was they have a carrying case, because currently with the set that I have, I don't have a case that goes with it. So I have to individually charge each of these devices. And I have about 6 of the wireless Rode Go II mics, and it can be a little bit of a headache trying to plug up each of the transmitters as well as the microphones. And when I was out filming in the field with some other videographers, I realized that they had a case where you can just put all the different transmitters and microphones into one case and then plug the case in, and then all the devices charge at one time. So that's something I'm going to be looking into in the future to see if I can either purchase that case so that way I can just batch charge all of my devices at one time, or just potentially sell this set and just upgrade to a different version. Now, the next tool that I want to share with you all is a tool that I have used frequently. So when I did run into that hiccup where I got a little reverb from, the microphone, there was a little bit of a hum in the background, or let's say it might have been an airplane passing by, because this particular interview I was capturing audio outside, or if there was just any unwanted noise or background noise that I was getting that the microphone was picking up. Something that I like to do when I sit down at my computer and I start editing video is I like to run my audio through Adobe. They have this software where it is software that is primarily created for podcasting. I have used this software for both my podcast. I've used it to clean up audio for just client projects and interviews, and it works phenomenally. I have even used this when I have made a mistake and I might have left my live at home, and I might have been filming in a larger room that didn't have like carpet, or it wasn't a soundproof room where you can hear a little bit of reverb and echo and just the extra room tone. I didn't have a direct mic clipped onto me, and so you can hear that in the audio. And if you're an editor, you kind of pick up on those types of things. So I went ahead and ran the audio through Adobe, their podcasting software, and it cleaned it up so well. Like, I use it 99% of the time, occasionally with a few of my YouTube videos. If I'm in a rush or I just want to get something out and I don't want my videos to feel super produced and just really edited, and it's more of a personal type of video, I won't bother with running the audio through that software. But for a good 80 to 90% of the projects that I work on, I typically like to just run the audio through Adobe podcasting software, and it cleans up any types of background noise. This might even be good for those folks where, you might have a ton of kids running around in your house, or you live in a household where there's just a bunch of people. Maybe you have roommates, or you don't have like a dedicated space where you can film, or maybe you live in an area where there's a lot of foot traffic, or there's just like a lot of like outside noise. I've occasionally mentioned that here and there throughout a few of my videos. I actually live in an area where there's a lot of foot traffic, and sometimes you might get sirens or people talking, or just whatever, like the hum of the refrigerator or fan or heater. Any of those type of sound effects that we don't typically like to have inside of our videos, this software cleans it up phenomenally. Like, I absolutely love it. And it sucks in some cases. I know in the past for me, there might be a few folks here and there where they might leave a comment under your YouTube video or any type of, a video that you create just for content creation. People might say, can you clean up the audio in the background? It's really annoying. Or the music that you have in your video, it's really distracting. So I think if you're looking for a tool, no matter what situation you may be in, maybe you can't get to a fancy studio and have the perfect recording settings. I completely get it. This software is great for those type of situations where you can just run your audio through it and it just cleans it up really well. Now, like everything, there's pros to things and then there are cons to things. My only kind of hiccup, hurdle, or thing that I have to say about this Adobe software is sometimes when you run it through this software, sometimes it works a little bit too good because it uses artificial intelligence, and it kind of In some cases where you might be talking low, or let's say I have like a little laugh while I might chuckle or say something beneath my breath. Sometimes with the AI technology, it will try to kind of bring that back. And in some cases, depending on, there's a meter on the Adobe podcasting software where you can adjust how much of the software you want to use when it comes to sprucing up your audio. You can use that slider to slide it up and down. I think it's between 0 to 100%. My sweet spot, what I typically like to do is I like to put my audio between 75 and 80%, so that way you can get a little bit more of that ambient sound, whether that might be birds or just a little bit of room tone. Sometimes I know I like my videos to feel more conversational and natural. However, depending on where this content is going, whether you are submitting it to a brand or this is a client project, you may not want to have those little background ambient sounds. So with this tool, you can clean it up. The con about this is when it uses the AI features, it sounds a little bit robotic when you scale it all the way up to 90 and 100%. Sometimes it sounds like a screeching sound or auto tune. If you're listening really hard, you can hear a little bit of your natural voice kind of being altered with the AI technology, trying to either bring the volume of your voice up, or maybe it's trying to make out some of the words that weren't probably as audible or coming through as clearly through the sound bites. You can really hear that AI technology, those features. If you crank it all the way up between 90 and 100%, you're going to get some of that auto tune. You're going to hear a little bit of that working with the software. So my sweet spot, like I said, I typically like to keep it within the 75 to 80 range, so that way you get more of a natural sound when you do decide to run your audio through this tool. Now, the next tool and kind of software that I like to use is I like to use Riverside FM. I have used this more recently, specifically with my podcast. I just wrapped up the latest season of my podcast, and I used Riverside FM specifically to edit my podcast. And I will say that when it relates to the audio software in this particular system, I love the way that it works. Specifically, what I love about this software is it cuts out a lot of those natural pauses or the ams, the uhs, the ahs. You know, sometimes as we're speaking, we might stumble over our words, or there might be an extremely long pause that's either 1 to 3 seconds longer than it should be. And with using Riverside FM, it kind of picks up on those exaggerated pauses within the audio or the stummers over your words. And something else that it uses is it uses text, so that way you can edit down some of your video. And I really love this feature because it kind of takes me back to what I learned traditionally in school. That's something that you do in the film world. Typically you would do a paper cut before you do an actual video cut, meaning that you'll skim through all the words that is within a transcript, and you can edit your video based off of the words. Instead of watching an entire video and editing from there, you can just kind of do a paper cut, look for whatever the key points or the key talking points that you want to highlight within the video, and you can just trim everything out and get a very tight and succinct video simply by using this software. So I have loved that. It also has a little bit of AI technology in there as well, where it kind of equalizes all the different speakers who might be in the podcast. It kind of levels everybody out. You can also record on different audio tracks and capture the different people. Now, because I am an editor and I have used tools like Avid, Final Cut Pro, and Premiere, I will say when it comes to, this is the con part of using their particular software, is when it comes to editing, I feel like their software is a little bit clunky for me, in my opinion, just because you can't get as granular and you don't have as much control that you typically would have when you're using more of those video editing tools and software that are directly dedicated towards editing video. You aren't able to do certain like fade ins and fade outs and transitions and, different effects and things of that nature. But I think when it comes in terms of capturing, filming, and recording a podcast, I think that it works great. You can easily transition between what speaker might be speaking at the moment. The biggest thing that I love, because I've mentioned this previously, I used to record my podcast because most of my podcast interviews are virtual. So I used to record it through Zoom, and then I used to send it to a sound engineer, and I used to have to do editing for the video here and getting the audio tracks spruced up through an audio engineer and just all these different things. And I'm just in a space and a place where I want to simplify and streamline all the different tools that I'm using, so that way I can make my video editing process a lot simpler, more streamlined, and a concise, convenient way. So I think that using Riverside FM, if you are looking for some software or different tool to kind of help you easily capture your interviews, I think that it is a great software for you to check out, especially if you're someone who doesn't come from an editing background, like where you've learned professionally, like how to edit through Final Cut Pro, Avid, Premiere, or anything like that. I think that it is a very user-friendly software, and it'll be very easy for you to pick it up if you have the basics and understanding. Like if you can edit a TikTok video, or if you can edit within CapCut, you can definitely edit within Riverside FM. And so if you're interested in checking that out, I definitely have an affiliate link, and I do have some things available for you all to check out in the description box below. So if anything you have any additional questions on, or you would like me to discuss anything further as it relates to capturing audio, definitely let me know in the comment section below, and I'll definitely see what I can share with you all and what information I can pass along to you all. So that's all I have to share with you all today. Hopefully this video is helpful for you as you are capturing and making videos, whether it's for clients, content creation, or for any of your personal craft projects. Audio is so important, and you want to make sure that you capture the most crisp audio, so that way your audience or whomever you might be talking to, they can clearly hear what you're trying to say. So again, that's all I have to share with you all. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you all in my next video. Bye.